Usman Nurmagomedov, Khabib's cousin, is fighting this weekend, and the real question isn't whether or not he's winning, because we all know he is. It's whether or not he's ready for the UFC lightweight division, because I do think that this is the time for him to get out of the PFL and join the UFC. Although I don't know the contract negotiations, I don't know how that would work, but I think the time is soon. I don't know. I kind of want to discuss it. So Alfie Davis is his opponent this weekend. He's ranked number 2. Usman is fighting number 2 in the PFL, 20-0 with this little hiccup here where he was caught with steroids. So that is a problem there. But Usman is a decent fighter. I don't think he's going to have much trouble with Alfie Davis. He has some weird striking and can maybe look to catch Usman, but his power isn't fully there. And honestly, I see an Usman walk through over this fight. But what really matters to me and what I want to talk about is this. Ignore the right-hand side. This is from Bellator. This is way back in the day, so this doesn't even exist anymore. We're looking at the lightweight rankings for the UFC because we want to go over the 15 fighters that are ranked right now and kind of discuss what it looks like for him, maybe what his path would look like to get to the title. I truly think there's only a few fighters that they'd really match him up against. For example, Ziam, Torres. I think those are two fighters that I don't think they want to match him up against. Those are two tough fighters, and they're at the very bottom of the rankings. They're likely to move up as time goes on. As of now, I don't see him really doing much with them because they can counter his wrestling. They're two big dudes. You know, the thing about Usman, if you watch his fights, he's a patient fighter. He can hit you with some nice kicks on the from range. His bread and butter, though, as we all know, that last name, it's going to be take him down, hold him down. And if he can sink in a submission, he'll look for it, but he's not in any hurry. For a couple reasons, I'm assuming, because one, he doesn't have the skill set yet for the submission game, the jiu-jitsu, but he also is a Nurmagomedov, so he's going to get that decision no matter what. Ziam Torres, I think they're trying to avoid at all means possible. Chandler is probably, he salivates at the mouth at the idea of fighting him because that is the perfect matchup to start off. Just an old man that has no IQ. He'd take him down, probably beat him to a decision, but it'd probably be a good first matchup in the rankings. Now, before the rankings, though, I'd like to see him get a fight, one that he'd be able to ease into, like a Hakpara, someone outside of the rankings. He's 27 years old, so he's young. He's not yet in his prime, although he's getting there. You'd probably want to ease him in, and the UFC is going to play it smart, just like they did with Umar. Although once he gets his one win, he'll probably get shot up all the way to the top 5. From there, I think Dariush Moicano would be relatively easier for him because they're good wrestlers, but on the feet they're slower. They're older, and I could see him picking him apart. Fiziev would be tough because we've known. I mean, he did lose his fight against Rufi, but he was putting up a good fight. And on the feet, Fiziev is definitely more skilled, I would say. He is smaller, so that works in the favor of Usman. But moving inside the top 10, that's where I really want to discuss this because Hooker and Rufi are two fights that I think are winnable for him. It just depends on how Rufi has developed that ground game because we didn't get that tested really against Fiziev. There was a few grappling exchanges, but I do think that Rufi still needs to improve that area of his game. On the feet, though, you don't want to have him. You don't want to stand up with Rufi. So if Usman were to fight him, you'd want to take him down immediately. Gamrot, a very good wrestler, I actually think would give him a tough time and likely beat him. Now, forget all that, though, because being a champion requires you to beat the best of the best. And now we're looking at the top 6. Paddy, I think, loses. Let's be real. Paddy, with that game plan that we saw last time around, I don't think has it in him to beat him. He'd probably try to strike with him, and then Usman takes him down. And, Paddy, the thing is, he can do the jiu-jitsu part. He can definitely be dangerous down there, but it's a matter of taking the opponent down. Maybe in a scramble, he can beat an Usman, but I don't know. I don't have too much confidence in Paddy anymore. Saint Denis would be dangerous. He is so dangerous all around. On the feet, he'll drop you and then ground and pound you. I think Denis would probably be a tough matchup for Usman, and he would lose that fight. But Holloway, Oliveira, Saryukin, Gaethje. Man, out of those, it's probably Gaethje that he could beat. Holloway is too dangerous for him. When have we ever seen Holloway get taken down and held down? I don't see that happening. On the feet, he'd show him levels. They match each other's sizes pretty well, but I just don't see anything in the area of danger for Holloway other than the takedown, and it depends on how good, Usman develops over the years, because to get to the top 4, top 5, it'd take at least 2 years to get there from the point of joining the UFC, I would imagine. Unless, of course, again, he is a Nurmagomedov, so if they want to shoot him up there, they will. Oliveira is a more likely win for him, but I think Oliveira's danger that he presents, and Usman is not really. We've seen that he's had issues with fighters that pressure him. We saw that with Paul Hughes when Paul Hughes fought him, especially that first fight. Paul Hughes put up a good fight. Now, Paul Hughes is a really good fighter, but he's not yet to the level of these fighters, I would say. I mean, he's still a notch below him. I mean, let's be real. It's not UFC caliber. So I do think that Oliveira would probably tackle him and just submit his ass, and maybe not tackle him. Usman might avoid the takedown, but once it gets down there, I could totally see an Oliveira scramble, and then kind of like he did with Saryukin, grab that neck and it might be game over. And Usman, he's not like the other Nurmagomedovs where he has a big back and, able to like overpower everyone. He's a little skinnier. He is ripped and he is definitely, a little inbred, but, definitely not to the level of like Khabib or Islam. Saryukin would show levels in the wrestling, and I think, yeah, he'd toy with him. Gaethje, I think, would lose that one. Just the way he looked against Patty, man, that he can't look like that against anyone in the top 5. So Usman might be able to pick him apart. And finally, Ilya. Yeah, Ilya would absolutely do things with him, and I think he'd genuinely have a choice on how he'd like to beat him. But that fight will never happen, I don't think, as Usman is not yet in the UFC. It'd take him a little bit to get up there, and Ilya by then would either be retired or would have just finished Islam at that point and then retired. So, yeah, and that being at welterweight. So, we're going to call it as it is. I think Usman is not ready just yet. He may be able to get there at some point. It just depends on how he develops. I mean, you know how they are out there in Dagestan. If he's been already caught with the steroids, those steroids could do some wonders for him, and he can develop over the years. Well, anyways, let me know what you think. Does Usman end up stacking up well against the lightweight division in the UFC? I think it'll take some time, but he may be able to, just not yet.